Welcome to the Florida Folk Show podcast. I'm Pete Gallagher. I'm opening up my files, my vast collection of tapes and photographs and videos and artifacts from a life of traveling the byways and throughways of Florida as a writer.
What is the deal with his guitar? He on his guitar, Woody's guitar, he had written the words, "This machine kills fascists."
That's correct. So they invited me to write an article about Woody, and so the title of my article is Woody Guthrie, Natural Born Anti-Fascist.
Natural born anti-fascist.
Yeah, that's the title.
Beauty, to Tom Gaskins, is the conical cypress knee rising from black swamp water, crabbed with knots and cankers. Beauty, to this man of the swamp, is the everyday chopped off dirt clogged pine stump bulldozed from the earth to decay and root rot rigor mortis. The man sees not only beauty but truth, he says, in a gnarled piece of discarded deadwood smeared gray by the elements and scummed with webs and insects. Beautiful, says Tom Gaskins when he describes such items. Fascinating.
Ain't that something?
His is a gifted eye.
If you're fixed on seeing one thing, you can't see nothing else. So I try to see it all, or just be ready to see anything. That's what I try to do.
Robert Orr Bobby Hicks, born in Tampa, 1953, was a legendary Florida folk music songwriter, best known for his celebration of the Florida Cracker Native and staunch defense of the Florida environment. Songwriter Bobby Hicks stares the crowd right in the face. The crowd blinks. Bobby fires.
And if that song doesn't make sense to you, jump on 95 or 75, head up north, you get the old damn driveway. Somebody came up to me at the Pinellas Festival and said, you know, you sing about Florida. What about the rest of the United States? I said, where are you at? I said, remember, my home never got bad enough to leave. I don't care if it's about the weather or you retired, moved down here, whatever it is. It worked out better here than it did somewhere else or you wouldn't be here. So if I offend you folks, hey, you ain't going to understand. You damn sure ain't going to like the rest of what I got to say. You know, y'all talk about, yeah, let's go down to Florida. You know, hey, Sierra Pines, if y'all watch this on the news, Sierra Pines, those are cypress trees, for God's sake. You build your house between cypress trees and a lake, and I guarantee you you're going to get wet. You know, everybody complained we didn't have any water. Now we got the water, now y'all trying to figure out what to do with it. Should have thought about that before you went back up north 10 years ago before you retired, told everybody what a cheap piece of property you got, how you beat some old cracker out of it. Yeah, well, they didn't know what they had. Well, you ought to see the property I got. I hardly paid anything for it. That's right. That's right. Pay us now or pay us later. But no, I'm like Frank Thomas. My family goes back generations here because we didn't see anything bad enough to leave. Everybody's got to be from somewhere, and I can understand that. And I've wandered this planet many times. I've been around the world more than some people have been around a coffee pot looking for the handle. But I'll tell you what, this is home, this is my home, it's always been my home, and it's a lot of people's home. Now, when you come in here, Florida's sacred ground to some of us, and history to some of you is heartfelt memories to others. So, you know, I'm not telling you to bow down when the crackers come through, I'm just saying, remember, Florida means a little more to some of us than it does to some of you. There was a Florida long before that damn rat came down here and ate Orlando.
Kissimmee River flows like a winding snake. It bends and turns all over the place. Only God knows how that river was made. But this is what the Seminoles say.
There was once a family living at the edge of the big forest. The swamps were full of meat and fish, and there were places for people to grow vegetables, pumpkins, potatoes, beans, and tomatoes. They also raised pigs and cows. They were happy people with no worries. They had everything.
Outside of a few exceptions, the rivers and lakes of Florida have kept the names given them by the Indians. They sound musical when properly pronounced. Escambia, Choctawhatchee, Chattahoochee, Wakulla, Oglochnee, Awithlacoochee, Wekiva, Okeechobee, and the Suwannee, immortalized by Stephen Foster. The most beautiful river of them all is the Ocklawaha, now doomed by the Cross-State Barge Canal. These are a few of the more well-known streams, but historically, the most significant river in the state is the Apalachicola, one time called the breadbasket of the South.
Tell me the story about how you learned how to play, or how you wrote the Orange Blossom Special.
Well, the late Irvin Rouse and I, in 1938 or 39, I couldn't be sure what year it was. We were good friends, and we were down at the Union Station in Jacksonville right after the Orange Blossom Special came on the seaboard. And we were talking about that train, and on the way home, Irvin went and had breakfast with me that morning. And on the way home, he said, let's write a fiddle tune and call it the Orange Blossom Special. And we sat on the side of my bed at 809 East Adams Street. I don't even remember the address. And we wrote that fiddle tune in about 40 minutes. And Irvin said, sure, he said, let's go down and have it copyrighted. And of course, that was back in the Depression days. And I said, Irvin, I don't have time to fool no fiddle tune. I've got to check on my cab and try to make some money to feed my family with. So I said, if you can do anything with that fiddle tune, it's all yours. And he did something with it, I think. So that's how the Orange Blossom Special was born, right there. And now I had nothing to do with the word. That was just a melody. He and his brother Gordon wrote the words to it.
Upon the Swan River, far, far away. There's where my heart is turned, never, that's where the old folks stay. Oh, this world seems sad and dreary. Everywhere I roll, oh, how my heart grows sadly far from the old folks at home.
I was very sorry to hear about the passing of my friend and Seminole leader, Joe Dan Osceola, June 9th. I heard that he died after a fall at his home in South Florida. Joe Dan was 82 years old. More than a half century ago, he was elected president of the Seminole Tribe of Florida, to this day the youngest to ever hold that office. The Seminole Tribe was only officially 10 years old at that time, and Joe Dan was the right man for that job. I had not seen him very much in the last few years, but talked to him often on the phone, and he would always fill me in on the tribal news and politics. But just like the Florida landscape, the animals, and original old Florida culture, I mourn the passing of Joe Dan Osceola. Born in a chickie way out in the glades, far from roads and medicine, except that provided by the medicine man, he grew up to be the first great leader of the Florida Seminoles and was instrumental in improving their lot in life. Like leaders James Billy and Betty Mae Jumper and medicine man Bobby Henry, Joe Dan was a preservationist. His life was spent preserving Seminole culture. 5 questions for you.
All right. That was one.
Okay. No, that was a statement. How about, do you remember the tourists coming in?
Yeah. I used to be out there. Some of the tourists would come up, and since I was pretty white, the tourists didn't get attracted to me too much. But the little brown-skinned Indians, they would set these bowls out in front of them, and they sat on the log and had these little bowls in front of them, and they would recite little poems, sing Jesus Loves Me. They would even recite little poems. Little Boy Blue can blow your horn or something like that. Whoever could recite something, they would be the ones that get these coins in their thing. Jim Billy had to be sitting there with a big ass bowl and nothing in it. Hell, that's all right.
Buddy, is there anything else you'd like to say to the folks of Florida and
Well, I would like to
my
thank
listeners here on the podcast?
would like to thank all these wonderful people out here for supporting our kind of music and trying to keep it up and running. And a lot of new types of music are coming along, and that's okay. But it's like a tree, you know, if you don't tend to the roots, the tree's going to die.
I mean, I think the biggest thing we can do to help in the environment is tell the story of the environment, and especially not tell it separate from humans, is incorporate the human element. There's something I like speaking about too. It's environmental history, and environmental history is the historical aspect of the environment and how many people in generations, thousands of years, and cultures have lived off the land, and they've done it successfully. So we can learn from that and continue to do it successfully.
I want to say this, that because of you, I ended up in Florida. Oh, I know this. Yeah, because it was November 3rd, 2005. Craig Kenning and I were booked for the Suncoast Blues Society Blues Cruise. They'd have a cruise where the musicians would play on this boat and go around. So the Blues Cruise was on a Friday the 4th. And Craig's like, we gotta go down to the folk night in St. Petersburg. These guys, I don't know how you met him before or knew it, but it's like, there's gonna be a folk jam. So we gotta do folk music. And I'm like, nah, I'm tired. We'd spent the night in the rest stop in Macon, and I'll never forget. And he's like, he's driving hard because we gotta go to this gig. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. I'm not, I'm gonna be tired. So of course we get there. And there was Pete. It was the Katiki. Pete and Pat, I first met you. How you doing? And I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? I was going to do the song about the lady, the lady that started all the nurses, or the Red Cross. What was her name?
Clara Barton.
Clara Barton. There's a song called Clara Barton. I was going to do that. And then I'm thinking, no, it's too slow. And then when I was waiting, because there was all these people, the folk night is this big part of Florida music. It was great. There was this redhead sitting out by the, up there, and Craig dared me to go talk to her and walk with her on the beach, and I was just getting, hey, how you doing? I did my whole thing. Next thing I know, she did walk with me on the beach. It was like really cool. So at the end, well, I'm not going to go all the details, but it was great because I met her, and then she ended up coming out to the shows, and she was on the Blues Cruise the next night. And if it wasn't for us going there, I wouldn't have met this beautiful redhead. And next thing I know, I'm coming down to Florida, and she wants to see me, and I'm at Dave's Aqua Lounge and Skipper's, and then I put a horn band together, and yeah, it was great because if it wasn't for November 3rd, 2005, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
All right, I'm sitting here in my living room here with Rayford Stark. Rayford, a lot of people know you, but they don't know anything about you. A lot that's written about you is not true, or just made up. The name Rayford Stark, for example. But that's all part of your colorful background and everything. But
we have another special treat here. For the first time, we have a young man who lives at Citra, who works at Lowell Prison, and who writes most of his material about convict labor and so forth and so on. And two of our tried and true musicians are going to back him up. Let's welcome Richard Markle of Citra, Florida.
Quit writing prison tunes because they're not really that popular. They're pretty, but they're not that popular. And I started writing environmental tunes, which is really where my heart is. I wrote this one called the Song of the Lake because I live down there in Orange Lake so far back in the woods that the airboat guys don't know I live there, and they try to drive them in my house. So I wrote this song called Song of the Lake, and it's a beauty. Oh, you come through the marsh, o'er the reeds and the pads, for the gators and the frogs you explore. But unlike the marsh hawk, so silent and peaceful, you invade with a deafening roar. Oh, you sit there and you play with your toy, so fearful its control and its power that you see. You unleash your contraption on this heavenly marshland you never see, the destruction that you read. Mister, won't you shut down that awful machine and listen to the song of the lake? The osprey, the blue pied dapper, and blackbird, it's a song only nature can make. How they get me and they bring me so low. They stuck me blind in the cabin. Water they give me away for promise to say. So I guess I'll just let and return to the air. I might be a cloud, never I might just end up when I swat you, my swan disappearing, and
Thank you.